I had always been locked in on soccer. That had always taken the top priority of everything in my life for years and years at that point. But then I started to really understand that I do not feel qualified in just any academic level. I don't feel smart. And I was like, all I'm going to do is work on these skills. I'm Izzy.
I'm Maggie.
And this is the Long Game Podcast, where we talk all things faith, relationships, and fitness.
Love it.
Today, we're going to be talking about mistakes. Not just mistakes, but how we've overcome mistakes, how we handle dealing with mistakes that we've made, and tips for people who have made mistakes.
This is such a good topic. This one, made me think. When you sent me the questions, I was like, ooh.
I know.
And when I don't want to think about my mistakes.
I know. I'm like, I blocked that out. I worked so hard.
Dig that up in the vault.
I know. Okay, should we get straight to it, or should we chat?
Let's get straight to it. I want to know the first question.
What's a mistake you recently made that really got to you, and how did you respond?
Do you have one?
Yeah, I actually do. Okay. It was a business decision, just letting in not an ideal client, because I wanted to help them, but it just was not the right decision. Because it's bad for them and it's bad for the business. And then it's like, I realized the way that I was handling it was like avoidance. I was trying to avoid it and avoid the issue, because I was like, until I realized, I was like, no, I just made a mistake. I just shouldn't have let these guys into my program.
Sure.
And then I did. And I was like, okay, how do we move forward? And when you, especially if you're in a business, if you have the wrong kind of clients, that's the worst thing. It's so much better to not have the money, not whatever. Don't take a non-ideal fit for your business. It's such a huge mistake.
Interesting.
And I really got the wrong fit. And that was a huge mistake. I felt like I was like, oh my gosh, that was not a wise decision. So I was avoidant is how I handled it. But then I was like, nope, I just got to take this head on, whatever it is.
Handle it directly.
Mm-hmm. And then get over it. So
yeah, but you learned from that, that it's so important to actually find the right fit of client, regardless of money.
Yeah, no. So
that's a big lesson.
That was a huge, that's
a good lesson to learn early on in your business too, I feel like.
Yeah. I feel like I should have known that by now, but whatever.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to learn the hard way for it to really resonate.
Also, sometimes it's not clear.
Yeah.
It's not clear in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, and I was already talking to Mitchell about this, and I was like, yeah, if that happens, then it's just an immediate refund, get out of the program. If I can tell, and I started to tell, I was like, this is the wrong kind of client.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'll still try and work this out with you. And then it's like, no, huge mistake.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, get them in. If you're the wrong fit, I'll just refund you, get out. I'm not going to deal with that. So that was kind of an unfortunate one, but.
Yeah, but lesson learned. I was thinking about this and I was like, man, I feel like I probably just block out my mistakes, because I was like,
you're like, I make none.
I can't think of any mistakes, but no, I definitely do make them. I think relationally, one that I made, I had someone decline to come to our wedding. And it was a family member, and it just hurt my feelings, the reasons involved. And I didn't fully understand it. And I feel like initially I was just don't want to talk to this person. I usually don't hold grudges, but I really just want to give this person the cold shoulder, silent treatment, don't want them to see anything from the wedding, all the things, you know, I just felt very hurt. And it took me a while, and I just wish that I'd come around sooner. To go that was their decision. Yeah. And to really not feel so personally hurt by it. And so I did come around, and I did reach out and do all the things and try to, make peace and not take anything personally. But I just wish in those moments I had more, a grace, and that I didn't take things so personally.
I know.
Because it's so easy to.
Yeah. Dude, I've been thinking about that so much recently. I'm like, why does this hurt?
Yeah.
Why do I take this so personally? It's so frustrating, because then it makes me show up in a way that I don't want to show up.
Exactly.
I'm like, I just want to be nice and pretend I don't care, or just not care. But I'm like, really, I actually really care.
Yeah. When I think about it, no, I do want to be the person that forgives and moves on right away. It's I do, but it's just hard.
Yeah. Mitchell's someone that's like that. He's just unfazed. Someone does something super rude, super mean. What if someone cooks? He's like, well, you got to let them do what they're going to do. And I'm like, I've been stabbed in the heart. Like, yeah, I'm like, this feels terrible to me. And he's just like, oh, yeah, no, is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm like,
need whatever he's on. Like, what is
he
doing? No, that is. I mean, that's what I aspire to be, for sure.
Yes, it's so hard to be that way, though, for me. I know, and that's literally what I was like trying to figure out, though. I'm like, how much of this is me just being sensitive? But I'm like, I am sensitive. Like, I can't pretend I'm not sensitive.
Yes.
Because then...
And I think also you can disagree, too, with how things are handled on the other end. Like, it did hurt my feelings, and I don't agree with how you handled it.
Yeah.
But I also need to, like, get over it myself, kind of thing. So
what did you do? How'd you get over it? You just, like, boom, like, whatever.
I prayed about it, and then I thought about how I should handle it as a Christian. I was like, as someone who's like held to a higher standard, like I am called to forgive, to give grace. Like I am not giving grace right now. And that really convicted me to stop with the silent treatment, to reach out, to like make sure that we're good kind of thing, and to let it go. And that really helped me. Yeah. It's just like, it's not even about me anymore. It's just about how I'm representing my faith more. Because if I'm saying like, no, I'm really deep in my faith, like I'm pursuing God, and then I'm turning around and holding grudges and giving people a silent treatment and trying to punish someone because they hurt my feelings, like I don't want to be that way. Silent treatment is such a relationship killer. And that came up for me yesterday because my dad texted me something, and I was like, ugh. And I was like, no, I am going to respond right now. And I can say something nice and appreciate, like, it bothered me because I felt like he wasn't hearing me or whatever. But I was like, and so I just told him that. So I was like, I'm not going to ignore what you said to me, because then I'm doing with the thing that I'm already frustrated. I was like, no. And I was like, that was such a good thing to like see and be like, no, are you going to lean into that? Or are you just going to respond? How hard is it to like a message and say, thanks so much. Like, for, I was feeling a little unheard, whatever, but I love you. Yeah, that's so much better than just nothing. Like, well, it's true. And I think like the worst thing about silent treatment is not only are you not talking about the issue, but you're also hurting the other person. Like I am fully aware when someone's giving me the silent treatment, or when I'm trying to give someone else the silent treatment. Like it's hurtful to the other person, and then we're not even talking about it. It's all about self-preservation, pride, ego. It's so ugly. Yeah. And that used to be definitely something that I did. Yeah. I was just like, I'm never responding to that person. Like I'm just, it's like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it's also, and I think I said this to you recently, but like communication is a form of respect. Yeah. And it is not that you have to respond to everyone right away or anything like that. And it varies on the relationship, but overall, like I'm called to respect my dad, honor your, what is it? Children, honor your father and mother and everything, for this please of the Lord. Yeah, literally. I was like, no, I'm called. And even when it's my mom and I'm like, this is like, I don't know. It's respect. Just respond, like whatever it is, respect. Yeah. And it is such a disrespect to just never respond to something. And there's times when I've done it to people. Yeah. And I'm like, dang, why did I do that? That was super disrespectful. Right. And it's all because I'm like, yeah, I'm hurting you. I'm getting back at you. It feels like a power move. It feels like I have some level of control over you. Yeah, it's super ugly. I was like, it's spiteful. Yeah. Yes. It's like, I don't want to be like that, but I do have that inclination sometimes because you want someone to understand how hurt you are. Yes. Yeah. It's like, I think it's about being understood. Yeah. Like, I want you to know that you hurt my feelings. Yeah. Yeah, the relationships die where communication ends. That's it. Like that's so powerful. You can't. Well, I've just experienced it. I've been realizing if you do not communicate, it'll end. I think that's probably a mistake that I've made in the past, is just being like, fine, I'm not responding to you. I'm pissed at you. Yeah, it's just so much better to even be like, hey, I'm super upset right now. I got your message. I love you. I'm gonna actually respond to what you said later on. Yeah, I am not ignoring you. I'm just emotional right now. Right. And I don't want to respond out of anger or something. Yeah. Give me a sec. Yeah. Dude, that was really good. That is a good one. This next question is also very good. I'm really curious to see your response. Okay. Do you tend to beat yourself up or move on quickly? And then why do you think that is? That's such a good question. It is really, really good. I think I used to tend to beat myself up a lot more.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to work on that. But I've always been like very attentive to detail. I'm like kind of perfectionist, like wanting everything to be right, wanting it to look a certain way. So obviously when I made a mistake or messed up, it felt so huge, you know, and I would dwell on it, and I really cared about what people thought too, how it looked. And so I've cared a lot more. I think that now I'm better about it, like not dwelling on my mistakes as much and kind of moving on, being like, all right, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn from it and move on. But I still get that pit in my stomach when I make a mistake.
It's the worst feeling.
It's terrible. It's like, how is this going to look? Like I shouldn't. But you've talked about this too. It's like we are imperfect people. Like we are not meant to be perfect. We are striving. When we strive to be perfect, we're striving for something that is unattainable.
Yes.
And that is only for God.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to be God when I'm trying to be perfect. Like that, it's nonsensical.
Yep. Yeah. No.
But it does feel like something that sometimes I still strive to be, you know, like every time I get that pit, it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's like, no, of course you're going to make mistakes. Like that's the only way. The biggest things I've learned have been messy, you know? It's been like those relationships that I'm like, I wish I hadn't dated that person, but I learned so much from it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah. It's like you've got to get a little messy.
Yeah. I think my nature is to be that way, to be like into the world. Also, a lot of that comes from how I was raised if I made a mistake. And then I also saw people around me like always be like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And it'd be like they forgot something at the store or whatever. And I think probably when I was like in college, early college, I just started thinking, I was like, man, it's a term that I told you, I was like, I'm glorifying my mistakes.
Oh, yes.
And I thought about that, and then I was just seeing that. I was like, and that's where I was like, don't glorify your mistakes.
I love that. That's really powerful.
Yeah, and I don't even know, I think I just saw it so much, and I saw how it was my ego doing that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is super unproductive, and it's also really unrealistic. I'm also giving myself so much more credit. And I just started to see it on the soccer field and the soccer world a lot. And as a coach, when kids would be like, oh, I can't believe I missed that shot. And I'm like, I just be like, really? You can't believe that. That's unbelievable to you. Because how many times have you made that shot perfect? And then I was like, that changed a lot for me.
That's so good.
It changed so much for me because I was like, seeing myself do it, and then was like, wow, this is not productive. And it's super ugly.
Yeah.
Especially when I can't believe
I love that. And I think it also just like adds some levity to it too. Like you really can't believe you did that. Like I do that. I hate forgetting things at home. And I feel like I do that sometimes, you know, like I forget my purse or I forget something. I'm like, I can't believe, like, really? You can't believe you did that? No, I've been super busy. I had a million things going on. Yeah. I can actually believe it.
Yes. Yeah. And it breaks it down for you too. Yeah. And it makes it kind of like, okay, yeah. Well, also when I started doing that, I started to realize how much ego I had in myself too, to be like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Oh, wow. I did that. Really? Yeah. Who are you, God? Like literally, no. Right. That I was like, oh my gosh,
prideful. Yeah.
I was like, this is super embarrassing that I've been doing this.
I love that. I love that perspective, and it's something I need to remember too.
Yeah, just like really, you can't believe that you did it. Yeah. Okay. How do you tell the difference in taking accountability and shaming yourself for a mistake?
Ooh, that is so good. I feel like honestly, it's indicative how fast you get over the mistake. Were you gonna say that too?
No, yes, that's like, go.
Because with the shame, you just ruminate on it.
Yeah.
And then you also never get past it. It's that I can't believe I did that. How could I do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, but when I take accountability for my mistakes, I go, all right, I did this wrong. This is what I learned from it. And I'm going to try not to do this again in the future now that I know. And that's literally it. Yeah. But the shame is just like thinking about it over and over again, and even like wanting to like go back and undo it. And it's this like circular thinking
Yeah.
that doesn't end.
Yeah, 100%. I do also think there's a balance because I don't believe that regret is a bad thing. And I do hear a lot of people say like, nope, I live with zero regrets. I have no regrets. And I'm like, no, that's not true. I think regret is good because that's why we don't do it again. We have a feeling that like doesn't sit right like that.
Yeah.
I do to an extent regret that I did that. And I don't think that's a bad thing to remember. Not that you need to ruminate on it, but like, no, I regret I made that decision. And that's okay. Now I'm moving on. I think there's a balance. We do live in a culture that has so much of like, nope, no regrets. It all happened the way, and like, yes, that's what God can do because he's incredible. He can use it for good.
Right.
But like you also, that it didn't need to go that way if I hadn't made that decision. That got me there.
That's fair.
And that's something I did want to say when we were talking about this because I've had people be like, because I'll say that I was like, actually, well, I think regret is good, and then they usually get defensive.
Interesting. Yeah, that is very countercultural now.
Yeah, it's like
with the zero regrets.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason, and all the things. Which yes, there's a duality there. It's like tough to define, but regret in itself, I believe, is a good thing. Can be a good thing.
Yeah.
Don't live in it.
Right.
Right. That's a shaming.
But the desire to do better, to have wanted to do better.
Exactly.
Is a good thing.
Yeah. And I think that comes when you have a little bit of regret. You're like, ooh.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're going to have a similar one on this next one. What's a mistake from your past that ended up teaching you something huge?
Ooh. Okay. You go first.
For me, just dating the wrong person.
Yeah.
Being with the wrong person for sure.
Yeah.
That was very impactful for me.
Yeah.
I think I was just like very, you just date the wrong person and then just staying in it for too long. And, and I think it's totally, yes, I learned a lot from it and grew a lot from it, but I also got a lot of pain out of that and like suffering. And I would have rather not done that. So it's okay to regret that I did date that person.
Yeah.
I need to sit and be like, oh, I wish I'd like try and think it through if I hadn't. No, but if I could share with someone else, I'd be like, yeah, if you realize someone is being this way and it's really bad, don't date them. I did. It was a huge mistake, don't do it. But I think that was a huge thing for me, just like dating the wrong person.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to know when you're in it, but ultimately I think what I found from it is really, it should not be hard to get along with the person.
You're with.
Like, shouldn't
you should want to see them, probably.
You should. Maggie's saying this because, okay, this is when I was like 18, 19. I was dating this guy, and I literally, like, did not want to. I would try and get away from this guy. Like,
it's terrible.
I would hide. I literally did so badly not want to be around this guy. I remember thinking one time, I'm going to go there. I remember thinking one time, I was like, if he died, I don't know if I'd be sad.
Oh my gosh. It was not a good relationship.
It was not a good relationship. Took me a very long time to get over. I hope he is doing well.
Right.
Finally. I used to be like, no, I don't really hope he's doing well. Like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
Sure. Hope he's doing well. He was also young. It was just a toxic relationship. It was 100% a toxic relationship. And yeah, it was a mistake. And
yeah. I definitely think that there's people I wish I dated like shorter. Like you said. It's just like, this wasn't the person. I wish I'd gotten out of there a little sooner.
If this had been like a 1 month thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was not a good relationship. And that's definitely. So my point is that if you're dating someone and it just is hard to be around them,
you might want to reevaluate.
Yeah, you might not want to be in a relationship with them, okay?
Turning into dating advice with Izzy.
Dating advice with Izzy. Oh my gosh, yeah. So.
Okay, did it say a huge mistake? Yeah, because that's definitely.
Yeah, I literally said,
That feels so big. I'm like, what's a huge mistake?
No, well, that was teaching you something huge.
Oh, okay.
Not that huge.
I really need to think about like the biggest thing that I've done
what's a mistake
wrong.
from your past that ended up teaching you something huge?
Oh, you know what I was thinking about is it was when we had moved to Tennessee and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for college. And I was like, maybe online school will be best. And so I tried an online program, hated it. And I had really like chosen it. I remember just feeling like very desperate, very rushed. Like I need to like be in college, get my degree done. And it was not a good fit. Hated the like format. And I loved school.
Yeah.
But I hated the format. And so it was a mistake because like I wasted a semester, like I paid for it and everything and like just did not get anything out of it. No credits, no units, like nothing. And I felt like I'd wasted the money in the semester, all of it. But looking back, like it made me realize I never want to make decisions out of desperation or when I feel rushed because that did not go well. And I feel like it doesn't go well when you're making decisions based off those things. Like I don't want to make decisions, big ones in the heat of the moment like that because I feel pressured to.
Yeah.
And that was a really good lesson to learn. And it felt like such a terrible mistake. I remember being so embarrassed about it. Like I just spent all this money on school and it didn't even work out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wasted time. So I was really embarrassed about it. And time has definitely obviously given me perspective on it. And I've learned from it since and it all worked out.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. But I wish that I hadn't felt so pressured.
Yeah.
Just because of how it would look or because I took a semester off to actually evaluate all of my options. I was like, no, I just need to dive into something.
That's really good, dude. I think just that really resonated when you said out of desperation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like I have to choose something. It's like,
yeah.
I could have paused.
Do you have to do it right now?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I can chill. That's hard though. Especially when you feel like, and it felt that way when we moved here too. Like we got to actually do something. Like we can't just tank, you know, we can't move across the country and then fail. Like that's going to be like, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
That's how it felt.
People are watching.
Like, people were watching.
Yeah. I got to thrive.
Yeah. I was like, I got to be living
thriving.
my best life.
Yeah. No.
That was hard. We should actually do a sode on that. On just the move.
I know. I feel like it comes up all the time because I mean, that was pivotal in like so many ways.
Yeah. And I think it's so good too, to like just also be like, dude, it was horrible in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I think that's why so many people don't follow through on things because it's terrible in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like, most things that are new are really crappy in the beginning.
And when you say the beginning, I think sometimes we underestimate how long it takes to actually get better. And I really appreciate people talking about now, like how long it takes to acclimate to the new place you've moved, especially if you don't know anyone.
How long did it take? Like a year and a half, 2 years?
A year and a half.
To like really?
To actually feel integrated, which was much longer than my expectation.
Yeah. You think it's going to be good after 6 months?
It would be sooner. Yeah. I didn't know. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, finally, I feel like I actually belong here. Like I have some semblance of like a home, a community.
Yeah.
After a year and a half. But I feel like I didn't know that. And I've talked to other people who didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
Anyway, I totally agree.
No, it's so good. I think that applies to so many different things too, just with like jobs, business, social media.
Yeah.
You think it's just going to like work in like 6 months. Like I'm almost 2 years into starting an Instagram and I just hit 10K followers. You know what I mean? Like that was holla.
It takes a long time.
Yeah. It takes so much longer than people think. And it's so much worse than people think for so much longer. But then the payout is that much better.
It's
too.
true. Yeah.
So,
what is it that you say? We overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate 5? Or is it the opposite?
So that's like people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5. Okay. That's like the saying, which I do think is true. Like they think they could make all of this happen in 1 year. Yes. And then they underestimate what can do in 5. But I also think like people also, if they really, really applied themselves for 1 year, do underestimate what they could do in a year.
That's true.
But they just don't so many people can't just do one thing for 365 days in a row or 75 days in a row.
Right.
Hello. Okay. Okay. How have you ever felt like a mistake has disqualified you? And then how did you work through that? Actually, have you ever felt like a mistake has disqualified you? And how did you work through that?
Yeah, I saw this question. I was like, I was curious to hear your answer because I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. For me, it's really probably just rooted in the dyslexia and stuff. Like just like spelling mistakes and errors and like not being able to read well. I think that.
Yeah.
I felt like that did disqualify me in certain things.
Interesting.
And
yeah, no, that makes sense.
You know, just because I always struggled with like, oh my gosh, I'm stupid. They think I'm stupid, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that for sure, which wasn't like an actual mistake. Those were just multiple little mistakes with like spelling, but
also just how your brain worked. Like it wasn't you purposely trying to do something.
But because of that, I would make mistakes, which made me think maybe I'm not qualified, you know, to just be successful or to do anything like really great that like I want to do.
When did you realize like that wasn't true, that didn't disqualify you?
You know, I think when I was in Folsom and I was just turned 19, I had a huge shift, like 19 and a half. So I was getting out of the relationship with that bad guy, all the things. I really locked in. I had always been locked in on soccer. 100%. That had always taken the top priority of everything in my life for years and years at that point. But then I started to really understand that I do not feel qualified in just any academic level at all, in any writing, in anything. I don't feel smart. I feel like my memory is terrible. And I was like, all I'm going to do is work on these skills. I had no social media at the time. I didn't allow myself to watch Netflix. I didn't watch any TV. All I did was like study and train my brain. I followed a lot of like Jim Quick stuff and just was like, I have to feel different about this. Yeah. And in order to feel differently about this, I have to do something different. And I just need to put in some serious reps. And I need to just study. I had no idea how to study. I was like, I'm going to learn every single day. And so I just go on YouTube and I just watch YouTube videos on brain training, on like how to think better, on how to be smarter. Literally, like videos on that.
Yeah.
And just got in the habit of gearing myself to be in a constant position to learn, to grow, to stretch. I've also found out that only like 1/3 of your memory is hereditary. The rest is up to you. And so I was like, oh, boom, amazing. I can strengthen my memory. I used to have a really poor memory. And so I just started working on all those things. I started reading every single day. I didn't even know what I was reading. Like I grabbed like philosophy books and like stuff like whatever it was. I was like, I need to grow. I need to do something different. I don't want to feel stupid anymore. I don't want to feel disqualified anymore. So I will do whatever it takes to change that.
Wow.
And then I had an ACL tear like probably 3 months into that. And because it took me away from soccer, it like expedited that because I had so much more time to study, to think, to just push my brain.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it really started to change. And then I wasn't afraid of like, you know, being someone who really thinks about things, who says things, who writes a lot, who poetry, all those things.
Yeah. I love that you took control of what you felt disqualified you.
Yeah.
And you didn't like sit in that as a victim and go, oh, poor me. Like, I'm disqualified because of this. You go, no, I'm going to change this.
Oh, that's the other thing. Bipolar disorder. Once I got diagnosed with that, I felt like that was a total disqualification of me even having a happy, successful life to any degree. Because that's how they paint it. That's how they frame it. We could probably do a whole episode on that. But that was definitely something. Once I got diagnosed with that was like, boom. I felt disqualified from just living a good life.
Wow.
Legitimately.
Wow.
Obviously, that's not the case. And we overcame. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Those for sure.
Those are huge things.
Those were huge, like life-changing things. And then, but it's what you said, diving into that just disqualification and being like, how can I
control?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
How can I support myself? And it's always just little things that you can do consistently over time
Yeah.
that lead to the change, the development, the success in literally any space. It's never
Yeah.
anything crazy. It's just the basics done well over and over and over again.
Right.
And that's how you obtain greatness to any degree in any lane.
Yeah, those YouTube videos, the books you read, like
Yeah.
the tutors you had that you sought out.
Yes.
just all of those little, you didn't pay like, thousands and thousands of
No.
dollars for brain training.
No.
But
Do it the way that you can.
Yeah. Overcome all of it.
Yeah. So
That's
were you
awesome.
thinking that's what I was going to chat on, or what were you?
No, I didn't know at all. That didn't even, I mean, honestly, that didn't come to mind because I like very rarely think about those things.
You don't dwell on my mistakes, Maggie.
No, well, I don't like think of like bipolar as defining you or dyslexia as
Yeah.
defining you. Like those are
Yeah.
just like, I feel like you have overcome those.
Yeah, me too. 100%.
And I know
I feel like
that
they're
you
not even-
still
yeah.
work to
Yeah.
make sure that you're well, and even like with reading and stuff, like you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
Still, like I know that that's something that you work on. I don't want to negate that, but
I love that. No, that's a
I
huge
just feel
compliment
like,
because that's
yeah.
how I feel and that's how I want to
yeah,
feel. I'm
I
like, good.
just don't think of it.
Yeah. I
And
think
I'm so
problems can extend as long as you want them to.
Yes. And it goes back to that shame. Like, it's just like if I feel
Yeah.
shame about it, guilt about it, or embarrassment, anything, it's like it will
Yeah.
continue to fester.
Yeah. And then you're
Versus taking accountability, taking control.
Yeah.
And being like, how can I fix this?
Yeah,
How can
and I
improve
think people literally don't think. I think especially in the mental health industry because it's not taught. Medication is just pushed out to wazoo, which
Yeah.
medication is a band-aid solution.
Yeah.
There are some cases where it's not. Those cases are really, really rare, and that might offend certain people. But that's the reality. It is.
Yeah.
Like it
and
is.
you've been on that side.
Yeah, and I did that.
You
I
know.
tried the band-aid solution and
For a long time.
For a long time, yeah. And it's BS. It's like
Yeah.
you got to be willing to roll your sleeves up, put in the work, and get better. And I think when I had that moment, when we were in the hot tub that one time, and I literally looked at you and I just said, and I was doing like terribly. I was like tanking. I didn't even know what was going on. I like couldn't function. I was like hitting a crazy low. And I just said to you, I used to have bipolar disorder. And I was like, I'm gonna say that to you. And and I was saying it then because I was like, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say I used to have it. And I really feel like that now. I feel like I used to have it. And people are like gonna have all their opinions on that or whatever. But the reality is that is how I looked at tackling that challenge.
Yeah.
Took like 3 years, took so long, and it was terrible at times. It was so hard. But I legitimately feel like that. And I'm not on medication, haven't been on medication for almost 2 years, I think. No, wait, almost 3 years.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say
almost 3 years.
longer.
Yeah,
That
2
is
years was in August. I
huge.
celebrated 2 years. Yeah, it's gonna be 3 years. And I legitimately feel like that. But
Praise the Lord. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. But you have to also have that faith that
Yeah.
whatever that thing is that you have, you can just say, I'm not going to have this in 3 years. I'm not going to have this in 5 years. I don't
Yeah.
care what it is. I will figure a way out of it, basically.
Yeah. That is
So.
huge.
Yeah, that was a tangent. That wasn't really a mistake that I made.
No, but that's still, I love that you shared that.
Yeah.
It's very personal.
Did you want to add anything to
Yeah.
that?
What was the question?
It was if you felt like a mistake has disqualified you.
Oh yeah,
Or just
okay.
anything.
Yeah, on a smaller scale, I think when I started dating Matthew, I felt like he's the most steady person I've ever dated. Like he's never up and down. Like he's just always so even keeled,
Like
even
me.
tempered. Yeah, exactly. I was like, and it made it hard for me to like live up to because I felt like every time I was like up and down or like
Oh, you judged yourself.
snappy or like critical, anything
Yeah.
like that, because he's just not that way with me at all. And I would feel like such a bad partner in retrospect after I was like grumpy or whatever with him because he just never was.
Yeah,
and that
Mitchell's
was
never.
yeah, and that was a new experience for me. I hadn't really ever dated anyone like that.
Yeah.
And so, someone that didn't get mad at me for getting upset,
Yeah.
And he just doesn't. He's super patient, super kind.
I love that.
And
Matthew.
yeah, I'm so grateful for it. But initially I was just like, man, I feel like such a bad, and I would tell him like, I feel like such a bad partner, like because I get upset at you and you never get upset at me. And he's just like, it's all good. But it's really something I had to like learn,
Yeah.
to give myself grace and to also just know I am a little more up and down than he is.
As girls.
And
we
it
have-
also doesn't
yeah.
make me a bad partner
Yeah.
when I have like my moments. Again, it's
Yeah.
the perfectionism. Like I am not supposed to be the perfect partner.
Yeah.
But I think, I was comparing though too. I was like, I'm not the way that he is, like I should be. And so I felt like it kind of disqualified me to be like a good partner. And so now I've learned a lot, and I'm trying to give myself more grace. And sometimes I'll apologize for like being snappy. And he's like, I literally didn't notice.
Dude, that's what I had to realize too. They're like, what? You were grumpy? I'm like, that wasn't blaringly obvious to you?
Yeah. Did you not hear me
totally
slam
chipper?
the can shut?
Yeah. The can. Yeah, like
in the fridge, just like slamming the fridge shut. But it doesn't even notice.
No, they like literally, and that's why I've been also really, I saw this analogy that was like, men are like supposed to be umbrellas, like they're the umbrella, and so they're there to protect you, right? Like from and you're gonna have those waves of emotions. But whether they're protecting you from a bunch of sun or a bunch of rain or whatever, that's what they do. And so they are designed to be more like,
I love it.
Well, I'm like,
it's the best. I'm so grateful for it. And now I'm just like, I get to be however I want.
Yeah. I'm like on this roller coaster going in this direction. Like, and Mitchell's just like on a little train that's just like,
with his pretzel. He's just like,
he's just vibing. I'm like,
that's why it works. It's great.
Yeah. That was good. Okay. How do you personally repair mistakes when they affect other people?
Ooh. I mean, I think it's the ownership thing. Just taking ownership. Like if I need to apologize, go directly and apologize.
Yeah.
Take ownership. And then I think also if there needs to be an action plan, like, hey, this is how moving forward I'm going to address this in the future, or this is how I'm going to handle it next time.
Yeah.
I think feels pretty basic. It's just hard to actually do sometimes because I think the ego gets in the way. Like my pride definitely gets in the way. It's easy to say like, you should go apologize to that person. And I think that you're really good at like owning wherever you've made mistakes. Like you're very quick to say, no, I want to take accountability for this.
Thanks.
Which I love. But I struggle with like being prideful, and so it's not always as easy to go, no, I need to apologize for this, like I'd rather be in the right. So it's I think a straightforward process to say, but like a lot harder to do.
I would definitely agree. And I think that's like it all depends on how hurt you are. And then
how personal it feels.
And then you're like, I think that it's for me, it's just like I just try really hard. And I think for certain personalities, that's like they don't want that too. They don't
want you to try.
They don't even want you to try. They're just like,
I think that's when they don't want to actually resolve.
Yeah, that's true.
And like fix the relationship. I think that if both people wanted that, they'd be able to.
Because anytime I've come to you and been like, all right, dude, I want to work this out.
Yeah.
You've always been like, yeah, me too.
Let's work this out.
You're like, good point. Yeah,
but you do have to have two willing parties.
Yeah, literally this next question is like pretty much what we've been talking about. What role does pride and ego play on how we handle messing up?
Yeah.
I think if I have no pride and ego, there's no problem. After a mistake, I'm just like, oopsies, my bad. Let's move on.
Yep.
As soon as my ego gets involved, and I talk about this a lot, I feel like, because I just see it that way. It's like all this self-preservation. Always comes back to that. You don't even
want to recognize that you made a mistake.
Yeah.
Like I don't even want to admit that.
Yeah. Me?
Like,
no way.
Make a mistake? I think you have the wrong person.
Get out of town. Get out of town. Yeah, no, I think I was reading this book. I read this book, and it was when I was in Folsom. I always refer back to that because that was just a hard time, but a very developmental time.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it was some philosophy book. I don't know, but it was all about the ego and everything. And it really impacted me like big time because it was such a wake up call to all these like walls that I had up because of my ego.
Wow.
And all these things that I, did because of my ego and like ways that I thought and all the things. And I was like, dang, it's just like holding me back. I really just saw it as the enemy. But then there's the other side of it where it's like, yeah, but some degree, I feel like I do need my ego. Because it's the thing that's going to drive me. It's a thing, like, that's what, gives me the guts to go sometimes, I feel like.
Sure.
To go, I mean, I don't do it anymore, but if I was going to go, play a big game, or go in a jiu-jitsu competition.
Right.
I felt that same feeling, like speaking on a stage in front of a bunch of people. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm the one. I got this. I'm going to do this. So I feel like that balance
where
is tough.
the good ego versus
the
harmful one?
Yeah. I think it's got to just be like that, the feeling. I can't tell if they're the same thing, though. I don't know if it is ego.
If there is actual good ego, or
or if that's just something else.
Yeah,
that's just like
motivation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I feel like ego is always spoken about like negatively. Like you don't want to have.
Yeah, it's a very hard thing. Like when we're talking about it right now, I'm like, man, how do we actually like define really like what ego is, who that is in you, and we all know that everyone has it,
right?
And I'm like, is that just like that very self-defensive little child self in us all, or is it just this, it's like the subconscious, but it's this piece of the subconscious that's all about survival and self-preservation and everything. It's like, it's tough. I don't know.
That is, I have no idea.
You're like, are you asking me? No, let us know, Maggie.
Repeat the question.
I'll have to do some reading on it again and dive back into it.
I remember reading about the ego, but I couldn't reiterate what I read. It was so long ago.
Yeah.
But it is fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to hop to. Okay. What advice would you give to someone who just made a mistake and feels stuck?
Ooh. That's such a good question. I think when I think about mistakes I've made and then time passes, right? And that mistake seems so much smaller.
Yeah.
And so time can kind of help fix those mistakes almost. Like I don't dwell on it as much, but it's like, how do I reframe that sooner instead of like waiting 2 or 3 years? And so I would say like, don't let that mistake define you.
Yeah.
Because that's what I feel like time does for me, is like, I no longer feel defined by that mistake because time has passed. I feel detached from it. So it's like, how do I feel detached from that mistake sooner?
Yeah.
And I think it is all about taking accountability, going like, this is what I've learned from it, and now I'm moving on, and it does not define me, and remembering what does define me.
Yeah.
For me, it's my faith, it's my relationships.
Yeah.
It's those sorts of things. So, yeah, I think accountability is huge, not dwelling on it too much, the things we talked about.
Yeah.
And also knowing that time will pass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's going to pass.
I try and always do that. It's very hard for me to actually that have any impact on my current state of feelings. So being like, in 5 years, I'm not going to care. I'm like, but I care so much right now.
Right. Yeah, I feel like you almost have to like really put yourself in 5 years from then.
Yeah.
And like feel what it feels like to like, I don't care about that. But it is hard.
Yeah. I think for me too, I would say, and I believe this too in many different facets, especially in like the coaching world or like mistakes that I made just in my soccer journey. You are then most qualified to help the person who you either want to avoid making those mistakes or who has already made those mistakes. And then once you grow, you're going to be able to help those persons. So your mistakes are actually what you're going to be able to leverage that you made more than anything you possibly could in your life. Because in my position now, I am willing to pay multiple people however much to just not have to make the mistakes that they already made.
That they've already made.
Yeah. And so it's actually usually something that you can leverage. And I would honestly say you should probably make a lot more mistakes.
Yeah.
Make more mistakes, try more things, have more errors. And it's not that big of a deal because the people who win, I think, make so many more mistakes than everyone else.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to like, we are afraid of life getting messy, but like that's how you learn.
That's literally how you learn.
Like make the mess and learn from it.
I think literally like podcasting even. It's like just be willing to make the mistake, try the thing, it doesn't work out. Make the freaking mistake. Just do it. And you learn so much faster that way, and then you're equipped to help so many more people. So if you're stuck in your mistake, you should go figure out how you can make mistakes a lot faster.
Yeah.
Like literally just make them faster this time. Learn from them. Don't make the same mistakes, but make new and different mistakes, because that is literally the only way that you grow. Like you have to grow that way, either by making your own mistakes or paying to learn them giving you like, this is how I made them and this is the ones that you should avoid.
That's
basically.
so true.
Yeah. I think I really
Embrace
face
it.
that in business and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's really just like a time thing and being willing to get out there and not do things perfect.
Wow.
If you try and do things perfectly, you'll never win because it'll take you so long to even get started.
Yeah.
And I've seen that just in people that I started with, like at the same time that I met at different masterminds or like whatever. And they've been so afraid to just go and do the thing. And they've been trying so hard to find the right platform and do it in the most perfect way or whatever. And it's like now a year and a half later, 2 years later, I'm like, dude, we're not even in the same world anymore.
Yeah.
Just because I've been willing to make so many mistakes and just
dive in.
Just dive in. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You're not the big of a deal.
Yeah. It just feels like such a big deal, but it's not.
Yeah. I think now I have the best relationship with making mistakes I've probably ever had.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a
I'm
great
glad.
thing to be able to say.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah. Because I'm like, if I make a mistake in a relationship, I'm very willing to apologize.
Yeah.
So I'm not really afraid of that.
Right.
Because I'm like, all right, so sorry, I did this, whatever. And then in business and social media and everything, it's like, dude, no one even cares. You have to be willing to do it.
Yeah.
And do it often. So
Great
yeah.
advice.
Okay, we'll wrap up really quick. Okay. How do you reframe mistakes as part of your story instead of letting them define you? We kind of touched on that already.
Oh, yeah. We were just talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just not letting it define you. I think it's figuring out, like I said, what does actually define you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like find the things that ground you, your core values.
Yeah.
What shapes you. And
Yeah.
then you'll realize that mistakes are not a part of that.
Yeah. I think I've also realized too, like, stories are everything.
Yeah.
And if you don't make any mistakes, you're going to have a really boring story. Because if we watch any movies, read any books, watch any shows, if there's no mistakes, it's boring. We
Yeah.
don't want to watch it. There's no error. People don't mess up. If there's no dilemma, no one wants to watch it.
Yeah.
It sucks. You're
Yeah,
like, yeah.
that's
That's
so
like why
true.
we like drama shows and shows. Like if there was a show where every single day, like even the most lighthearted shows, like sitcoms and rom-com, like stuff like that, like New Girl, The Office, there's always a little problem
Yeah.
because we love it. Like we love to like watch it because it's realistic.
Yep.
And so the more mistakes you have, the more turmoil, like all of that is your story. And you have, that's probably outside of like anything else, your story is your most powerful asset. I really believe.
Wow.
You have to lean into your story. And for so long, there was parts of my story I was so afraid for anyone to know. Dyslexia, bipolar, the soccer story, the ACLs, like everything. I was like, oh, people can't know this about me. I'm like, dude, when I actually start talking about my story, it's so sick. It's what lands
so
with people.
powerful,
Because I'm like,
yeah.
dude, yeah, wow, I really did go through that. Like,
Yeah.
that was hard.
And look at me now.
Look at me now. Pew, pew, pew. Boo. Yeah, but did you have anything to add? Is that a
No,
wrap?
I
That's a wrap.
completely agree. That's a
Pew,
wrap.
pew, pew. Yeah. Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you could share this episode with 5 people you think could benefit from the show. Also, please feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Izzy Chinche or my website at izzychinche.com. Thank you so much for being you. Keep being a leader and making this world a better place.